what made you think about to start the garden at the beginning?
So starting the garden in the beginning came out of both financial struggle and health issues in the family. We have 4 daughters, and our oldest daughter got sick with a MRSA infection, which ended up um, we learned a lot about healing naturally through that experience because the medicines she was given didn't really work, and we ended up having to look at alternative ways of healing her. And then also we had to repair her gut health from all the antibiotics. So I was researching and learned that there was so much we could do to support her health, and also my husband, who was dealing with some things through just diet. And we were struggling financially, and I thought, oh, how are we going to afford to buy all of these organic, vegetables to replace a lot of the carbs and processed foods that we were eating? And we have, a fairly, it's like 1/5 of an acre lot, and our front lawn was just grass. And I told my husband, what if we dug up the whole front lawn and planted vegetables? So I like to encourage people who are nervous about where to begin. I have learned the most through the mistakes that I've made. And you can't, you're never going to know all the things. But I did order one really good book. It was called The Self-Sufficient Gardener by John Seymour. And I just determined, if I read this whole book, surely I will be able to grow some things. And really, there are so many things you can do, but a lot of people do get stuck on the fear. I don't have the knowledge, I don't have the experience. So I would say my 2 tips would be: start even though you're scared, even if you don't know, and find someone to grow with you. Because I really believe that growing together in community is so crucial. After a year or two growing in our yard, we ran out of space. Well, I took over our driveway and put garden beds. We got rid of most of our lawn that had sun to grow food. And then I was thinking, oh, I wish that I had more room, but we couldn't leave and buy a farm, and I wanted to stay downtown. So pretty soon I started asking neighbors, hey, would you let me put some vegetables in your backyard? You've got a pretty sunny lawn. Can I come over?
Nice lawn.
Yeah. So we started to try that in different people's yards, and that's when I met Lynn, who has a big corner lot. She has a 1/2 acre, so bigger than mine. And she asked for advice where to grow the vegetables, and I said, it looks like your front yard is the best space. So that was the first year that we started growing real intentionally together with a small group of people, with our kids, and it was so exciting to see how much food we ended up with.
When you start the garden, is it take a lot of time from your life to take care of the garden, like a garden around the house like this?
So it does take an allotted amount of time. I really think that depending on how you set it up, if you have raised boxes, I think you saw some of our raised boxes, those ones can be super simple. But with boxes, if you have some raised boxes, if you raise boxes, those you can keep, I believe, maintained in maybe 30 minutes a day. If someone works during the
30
day,
minutes a day is enough.
if you come out every day for 30 minutes, and if it fills you up, I think you might end up spending longer because it's enjoyable.
It's very addictive, actually.
It is addictive. But yes, there's going to be some investments. There may be a few days where you have to spend a few hours, like on the weekend, to work on things. For me, however, running such a large space, I spend a lot more time than that.
So now how many plots that you're working on?
So it started with just my garden. We now have 7 different plots in the neighborhood. And we feed about 20 families every summer. And so we have members who join the
So now you're CSA.
Yes, we are. So we're a CSA, which means community supported agriculture, but people pay in a portion of money at the beginning of the season, and then they receive a share every week.
You think people interested to do more gardening in this city?
I
this
do.
town?
I really think that people are excited about when they come through, especially a place that's in a suburban area, that's in a neighborhood. It's inspiring to people because they realize, wow, you can really grow a lot of food in a place that's not traditionally seen as farmland. You know, there's potential to really impact your food budget, to feed yourself. And so more and more, even as the world feels uncertain, I think that there's a lot of people that are interested in doing something more sustainable instead of spending a lot of money in water, keeping their lawn green. When they see how beautiful and productive it can be, we do see a lot of interest in that.
How many years have you been doing the garden around the house?
Yeah, so I started in 2011, so 10 years that I've been doing it. And we've had our CSA neighborhood farm running for about 7 years.
Yeah, when you do the garden like this, you think it can make some money or just for feeding the family?
So I started it for us to feed the family. And when we had a huge crop one year of salad greens, we finally learned how to start our salad and keep it alive through the winter in Colorado. A friend suggested, you need to start a CSA. There's so much here. People would love to pay and they would like to learn from you. So our farm now, it's not necessarily a money maker for us, but what it does is it helps our 3 families who run the farm. It helps us. It covers all of our costs of expenses. It feeds our family nourishing food. And then there's a little buffer, a little bit of excess that we can invest in growth each season. But it's very profitable. If somebody wanted to do it and that was their full-time job, I would say there is possibility for profit. And I think that salad greens is the way that people are making money doing that in urban settings, because you can get a lot of a crop, and it's profitable. You can grow a lot. If you wanted to just do salad greens, maybe. Yeah.
At least you don't buy a lot of food. That's a profit, that the income
Oh, it
you
is.
made.
It is. We don't have to buy produce all summer, spring, summer, fall primarily.
Before the pandemic and then during the pandemic, did you see any difference of people around who have the impact with the garden?
Yes. The biggest impact we saw was how much people were enjoying the time in the garden together. So during 2020, and we would meet up. The nice thing is you're outdoors. It's a safer experience to be in community with others, and you're in the sunshine. And every week people would say, oh, this is saving my life to get through this pandemic, to be out in nature, to have the connection. I think pandemic or not, we're all in the world today really hungry for connection with the earth, more than we realize. I think that we've forgotten that we're a part of nature, and you know this, and I know from your story how, you know, being disconnected from nature and not connected to your food, it hurts. It can feel and I think that most people growing up not knowing that, when they experience it for the first time, a lot of people say things like, oh, this is reminding me of being at my grandmother's house. She taught me how to pick snap peas. I forgot, but their body remembers that experience. And I also think that just even we carry our ancestors' memories in our body, even when we don't know that. And so the experience for me, when I started growing food, really got me in touch with my Italian family and the heritage there, because my grandparents all grew food in as immigrants in California in their suburban areas. They would, you know, grow as much food as they could in their yards, and they knew that from their family, passing it on to them. So I think it gets people back in touch with something that they might not even know is in there.
When you start to eat the food from your garden, do you feel anything different from the food from the market?
Oh, it's a world of difference. And that's another thing that our members rave about. It's like, oh, why does this cucumber taste so much better than the watery things that we're buying in the store? And I think the beauty of having your own garden, even if it is just a few boxes, is you can order seed that is not just grown to withstand shipping. All the food in our markets, they have to be varieties that will last long enough and not spoil. And so then we're all used to the same varieties, and they don't always have the freshness of the flavor. But there's so much to that. The flavor, you can grow unique varieties that you would never find. You can really benefit your health. There's something about taking a tomato off the vine and putting it in your mouth. It has all the beneficial bacteria that goes away when it's in the market sitting there. So there's a lot of things that are healthy.
I can see that quite clear because since we're doing garden for a long time, we know that the whole people in the city never taste the real taste of long beans.
Yes.
And then you can see that most of people in the city, they never taste the real taste of fruit. It looks beautiful, but when you eat it, it's so different from the fruit that ripe on the tree.
Yes, we just ate the first ripe strawberries in our garden with my family last night, and everybody's face just goes, oh, it's like you remember, like, oh, that's what it's supposed to taste like. That's what a strawberry is supposed to taste like. And we're spoiled in a way by being able to get food from all over the world, and yet it's really not what it's as good as it can be when it's grown yourself.
So now you have CSA project, and then you have the learning.
Yeah, so we want to start sharing the workshops, and then we'd like to reproduce plenty farms in different places where we can't do all that ourselves, but we can say, here's how you do it. This is how many people you need. This is approximately how much space will feed this many families. So yeah, we hope to reproduce it in that way.
It seems like now people have some idea, like you live in the city, but you want to live close to nature, you want to have a good food. They make a big plan to buy a big land to start to do things. And at the end, it's involved with a lot of money and then not enough experience, and it fails.
Exactly.
So to start a small garden around the house to feed our family first, I feel like it's very good model for people to learn, and then it's a good way to produce food in the city.
It is.
So do you think is it too hard for new people to start something like this?
I don't think it's too hard at all. I think what people get overwhelmed by is how much information is out there online. Like, well, how do I know if that's the right way to grow, or if this is the right way to grow? I always like to remind people there are free resources everywhere, and my whole goal when I grow food is to mimic what happens in nature. So if you go into a forest and you walk around on the ground, it's very spongy, and there's all sorts of things decaying and falling in, and new shoots coming up, because as leaves fall and rot and branches break and fall, they decompose, and that feeds the soil. So our job in the gardens is always to feed the soil first, all through the year. In the fall, we gather everyone in the neighborhood. We tell them, we will take your leaves, bring us your leaves, and we use fallen leaves. We talk to tree crews in our area and get wood chips, often for free. We find people with animals. Having animals as an input, whether it be chickens, rabbits, goats, cows. If you can find a friend with animals, that's helpful. But you don't even need that. Even
you don't need to have everything like that.
No, you don't need to have everything like that. You can just use literally a pile of fallen leaves every year. If you get a big pile, that can help feed your garden. But all I'm trying to say is having a lot of money doesn't need to be where you start. Seeds are very affordable, and it just takes a little bit of I think the passion and the desire to really do it, and then the willingness to ask for help. I think for me, I've reached out to countless strangers. Hi, would you want to help me figure out? I'd love to learn how you did that. Would you show me? Would you teach me? And again, I don't think we're meant to do it all by ourselves. We live in a society that thinks I'll just read and figure it out. And sometimes we can learn that way, but I really think person to person learning is crucial. But it's totally changed our health. My husband, health-wise, he was struggling with some chronic issues that have gone away and not returned. So much has changed for us in general, just in our health, which I am totally attribute to the overall lifestyle change of being in the sun, touching the soil, getting good dirt under your fingernails and in your nose. All of that really boosts your immune system.
Yeah, it seems like your experience, your knowledge so far is very useful for people. And then in the next 5 or 10 years, what do you think if all the neighbors change their lawn into the garden?
Oh, that's what I want to see. So the thing that we were talking about earlier is how lawns use the most chemicals of any crop, even our commercial food that is so toxic and sprayed with so much. Lawns are one of the worst when it comes to needing. If you want to have this beautiful lawn, they need so much with chemical use. And not only is that harmful to the soil and to the insect life that is really struggling in our toxic world, it's harmful to humans. And the amount of lawn that we have in our world, if even a small portion of that was turned into food producing spaces, we could feed people, we could improve health in so many ways. It can be simply and beautifully turned into a garden with a lot less work than you think. We do a layering method. That means you don't have to dig out the grass. You don't do that.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, and you waste a wonderful resource. So when you build on top of the lawn, you create a sponge that holds water, and you can end up growing food which takes less water than your lawn did. So I think it's the best idea.
This is a big change. I think it's going to be a new way of living in the future soon.
I think so, yeah.
Because it's something that you can show people that city people can feed themselves.
They can.
So we don't need to think about the big industrial farm or something like that. Must invest a lot of energy and money and everything. So I feel like this is the best so far that you're doing here. I hope it will grow bigger.
Thank you. Well, we hope to share more and continue to inspire people, and help. We just need a few. I'm sure there are people that will come on board that will say, I'll start one on the other side of town, and I'll start one. And so again, we hope to share what we've learned after 7 years. It takes a while to get systems in place, but it's so possible, and you can feed so many people.
It seems like the community is very important role here. But many people think that it's not easy to build up a community because people were disconnected for so long. They used to be alone. It's hard to be together. So what technique did you use to bring many people come together?
That's a good question. I think that the most useful, what happened was I grew in my front yard and not my backyard. So in our neighborhood, we have a lot of mature trees, and in my yard particularly, the backyard is mostly shade. When we first moved here, I always tried to grow a few things, and it was just a few things, and they would do okay. But when we really wanted to grow a lot of food, the front yard had more sun. But the beautiful thing about having it in your front yard is that people would stop and ask all the time. They would stop and say, what are you growing? Are these, wow, look at all this food you've got here. I met more people that way. So I really think there is something to say about trying it in your front yard. If you've got sun up there, a lot of people are afraid, but what if it doesn't do well? There's so many things that can be beautiful and you can put them in your front yard. You can tuck in, lettuces in between your flowers. You can put a beautiful, simple, affordable bamboo trellis or any kind of wood trellis and grow green beans that can be beautiful. So I think people think that, the garden has to be in the backyard, in a box, in a certain space. I think it's encouraging to remind people that if you try it in your front, you might meet a lot of people that way. And it did help build a community in my case.
It just come up by
Mhm.
natural way.
And it is natural. I mean, I think that when we have excitement or a desire to grow, just putting that out there, you will begin to attract people that have similar interests. That's how it's worked in our neighborhood. I never had to go looking for help. It was people were curious,
People
passions.
craving for the same solution, but they don't know what is it.
Yeah, exactly.
But when they see it, they think, oh, it's just simple like this.
Yeah. And everybody has a different thing to offer the world, and I feel so passionate about that. Just like in the gardens, it's an ecosystem. Every part is crucial. You know, you need those earthworms underground, and you need the pollinators that come in. And if anybody wants to learn about what we're doing, we have a website that's plentyfarms.org. And you can, if anyone has questions there, feel free they can go on the website and send us a message. We try to put information on our social media pages. So on Instagram, we're Plenty Farms Loveland, and on Facebook, we are Plenty Heirloom Farms. So those two places are great ways to get connected. If you want to look, there's lots and lots of, we have videos on our Instagram pages and things, and lots of photos to see sort of what we're doing.
You have books too?
I have a book. You can get it on Amazon. It's called Thrifty Good Life. So the reason that title is kind of from what I shared, that I was amazed that you could live the good life using very little and it's my journey of learning how and falling in love with food. Yeah.
Wow, that's so good. Anybody can have a good life, even you don't have a lot of money.
That's right. That's why I feel so kindred spirit to you. When I read your book and your story, I cried because I thought, oh, this is someone that I just, we have a lot of the similar passions, falling in love with nature and being nourished by just the beauty of all that's around us. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for all your experience.
And soon we'll come and visit you at the Pun Pun Gardens and see what you're doing.